This is a commentary from Ion Annapolis. Please visit ionannapolis.net for all of your local news, opinion, and events, and subscribe to the Ion Annapolis Daily News Brief wherever you get your podcasts. This Daily News Brief is a 10-minute podcast delivered every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. with your local news, weather, events, opinion, and more. As you think about heading to the polls on Tuesday, let me have a few words about slates and teams. Elections are supposed to be about electing individuals to represent our desires in the three branches of government. In a perfect world, every elected official would listen to and communicate with their constituents and make the best choices based on the majority of the people who sent them into office. Unfortunately, politics corrupts. It's ugly, but true, and it's ringing true once again here in Anne Arundel County. No doubt, if you're a registered Democrat or Republican, you've received negative mailers. Some might argue that they work. Others, like former Annapolis Mayor Mike Panelides, might suggest that they can torpedo a campaign. To me, when a candidate sends out a negative or an attack mailer, it says, well, I'm at a loss as to why you should vote for me, but hey, look how shitty this other guy is. I'm sorry, but you have to be better than that, right? If that's the best you can come up with, you certainly aren't getting my vote. Tell me why you're the better choice and how you're better than the other guy. Show me that you can lead by example. And all too often, the folks behind the negative mailers are also usually part of a slate or a team of candidates, usually led by somebody deemed a political leader. Again, I say, if you aren't able to stand up on your own merits, why do you deserve my votes? A second problem with slates is that it is nothing more than an adult version of Mean Girls. A group of very like-minded individuals gang up to exclude one or more, quote, less worthy ones. The leader of the gang, usually that same self-appointed political leader, makes the determination of who is or who is not on his or her team. Is anyone having flashbacks to picking sides in elementary school gym class now? Back then it was a bit simpler. The athletic kids got picked first. But in politics, not so much. Why would a, quote, leader pick a slate? Well, more likely than not, it's because he or she has an agenda. He or she does not want to risk a free-thinking person coming in to upset his or her apple cart. And more likely than not, that agenda is not the one that you agree with. These leaders tend to be lifelong politicians that will resist term limits to the death, which, incidentally, is usually how they finally leave office. Look around at some of the races you'll be voting on Tuesday. We have quite a few with big dogs and little dogs. The big dog says, I'll lend you my name, my endorsement, my donors, and my money to help you win. It's a great deal for the little dog who may have no experience, no access to funds, no access to a donor base, and maybe even no donors. And if that slate should win, the little dog is promoted to a lapdog. I think you know I'm right. As a nation, we're all up in arms about the Russians influencing the election. But you know what? It happens every single election right here in Anne Arundel County. Granted, it's not the Russians, but it is people having an outside agenda. And the influence is not limited to the politicians. At Ion Annapolis, we have never done endorsements. We understand that we have an audience. We have just shy of 200,000 people reading our site every month. We have nearly 140,000 people following us on our Facebook pages, and another 50,000 in the Twitterverse. We also understand it would be wrong to influence an election. Now, newspapers have endorsed for centuries, but that practice is archaic at this point, when the information people need to consider a vote is so readily available from other sources. Technology is wonderful in that way. We all have our own biases, but some show them more than others. Look back on your local newspaper's election coverage and ask if it's really trying to guide you or to influence you. If they endorse candidates, do they clearly state why they are endorsing the particular candidate, or do they rally on about why they aren't endorsing one? In that situation, were they unable to come up with a single reason to endorse someone other than they disliked somebody else more? Did they sit on a politically damaging story only to release it the morning that early voting began, despite the fact that it could have been written nearly 4 years ago? Was it newsworthy? Was it a hit job? Was it both? Like the big dog political leader, does the newspaper have their own agenda? These are the questions you need to ask as you head to the polls. Voting should not be an easy task. You should do your homework. You should feel comfortable about who you're putting your faith behind. You should certainly read all the viewpoints, but the decision is ultimately yours, and it's one that you're going to need to live with for 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 15 years, or even longer. When you step into the booth, well, nowadays it's more of a table with a corrugated shield, make the right choice for you, not some self-appointed political leader just looking for that next political rung to conquer. not a media entity suggesting that they alone know what's right for you. You vote for you. Now, as I said, we don't do endorsements and never will, but we do look at the races and we have our opinions. We do put out predictions, and you can visit ionannapolis.net to see them. They are pinned to the front page so you can see them very easily. Also on our podcast, The Maryland Crabs, and by the way, you should subscribe to the Ion Annapolis Daily News Brief and the Maryland Crabs podcasts. The Daily News Brief comes to you every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m., and the Maryland Crabs is every Thursday at noon. Both are free, so please subscribe them and rate, but I digress a little bit. But heading into this primary, we selected several races that we thought were very interesting. We invited all of the candidates to a recorded phone call where they had the floor. We asked them one question: why do I want to vote for you? And they had up to 10 minutes to explain why. After 10 minutes, we hung up. Give them a listen, because knowledge is powerful. You can find them all at ionannapolis.net, also pinned to the front page so you can find it easily. And as I mentioned, we invited all of the candidates in the races we chose to participate. Most did, some tried and never made it, and some just never responded. We've noted who did what, and you can take that for what it's worth. In the end, voting is such an important right that we all hold as Americans. Don't ever give it up and allow someone else to influence your decision. Vote your conscience, not the slate, not the negative mailer, and not the media telling you who is good and who is bad. We're all grown up now, and hopefully we've evolved beyond elementary school gym class and that mean girls phase of our lives. It's important. Make the right decision. Thank you for listening. Now go vote. Thanks for listening. Be sure you're subscribed to the Ion Annapolis Daily News Brief wherever you get your podcast, and visit ionannapolis.net. And if you're craving another podcast, check out The Maryland Crabs. You can get a taste at themarylandcrabs.com, and it's a fresh hour-long episode delivered to your device every Thursday at noon.